Oh, coming at you here from the Box to Box Radio podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mason Carmichael. With me in the octagon, the studio, the gauntlet, if you will, Travis Carmichael to my right, Mr. Travis Ade to the left, like a Beyonce song. And of course, across from me, the bearded wonder.
I'm already done.
Oh, jeez. The glorious man himself, producer Chris. Guys, welcome back. If you like the new tunes at the beginning of the show there, we are very thankful to announce that we're working on promoting some music from a local Austin band. The band's called Sincerely Yours. You guys go check them out. They're on Spotify and on iTunes. They just released their first studio album called The Golden Age. It's a 12-song album. Guys, great music. Good friend of ours as well. The guy, Dalton Teague, he runs Sincerely Yours. Very, very glad to have his music on the podcast. So you guys will be hearing a lot more of his stuff. Please check him out. We rate him very, very highly. And also, if you guys out there listening have creative projects or businesses or anything that y'all want us to plug, we're really, really happy about spreading local growth of businesses here in Austin. We'd love to plug you guys on our podcast. We'd love to get y'all some more recognition as well. We're all about growing anything we can through our influence, no matter how big or small that might be. Of course, this podcast is being streamed to you guys on all your favorite streaming services. We're on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, currently working on Pandora and SoundCloud. But guys, I'm ready to go. How are y'all feeling after a great, relaxing weekend? A lot of stuff going on here in a bunch of leagues. What are you guys feeling?
Yeah, so first off, it's good to be back. Glad you guys could hold it together in my absence. Outstanding job.
The same Beyonce song, Don't You Get to Thinking You're Irreplaceable.
This guy's full of all the stuff.
Oh my! I'm in a Beyonce mood,
man. No, it's good to be back. Some great soccer this weekend, and I'm excited, man.
I'm excited to be in the room with both of you at the same time.
Yeah,
for one.
Yeah, it's a first, isn't it?
Yeah,
this is good.
So ready to get after it.
This is good times, good vibes going on right now. Great vibes.
Hashtag good vibes.
Hashtag good vibes. Yeah, I like it. Anything's a hashtag nowadays, guys.
Hashtag it's a sport.
I immediately regret that.
Yeah. Wow, that was ridiculous. You guys are hilarious. But guys, a lot of stuff to talk about this pod. A lot of stuff to dive into. We got a lot of title races heating up or just ended. We got some rosters being announced for some international games. Big international games here in the U.S. We got the Women's World Cup and the U20 World Cup coming up, respectively, this summer, and Gold Cup's around the corner, but of course the roster for that has not been released yet. So guys, I just want to kind of jump in here. We're going to start across the pond in good old foggy London town. We're talking about England. We're talking about the Premier League title race. It's over, and what a race it was. Of course, Manchester City on the last day clinching the Premier League title. They're second in a row. And guys, they did it in a pretty big fashion. I mean, they went 1-0 down to Brighton. Glenn Murray with that goal.
Glenn Murray,
the ageless wonder.
Legend.
Man, I love Glenn Murray. I wish he would have done more for us today. But then, of course, Aguero with the equalizer, Laporte with the header, and then it just all went downhill from there for Brighton. Guys, Manchester City finished the league with 98 points. 1 point ahead of 97 points for Liverpool, which saw out a 2-0 win over Wolves. But of course, they needed that result to go the other way against Manchester City. Sadio Mane with both goals for Liverpool, their last game at Anfield for the season. And those two goals tied him for Golden Boot with Mohamed Salah, as well as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's 2 goals.
What a guy that
and
guy.
Their win today
what a goal scorer.
Was it Burnley? Was that who they were playing today?
Yeah, scored 2. Doesn't matter.
2 goals over Burnley.
Tied
So
at the top of the league.
I think it's the first time I've ever seen a 3-way tie for Golden Boot. So they're making 3 Golden Boots. Jurgen Klopp joked about it in a post-press conference. He said, oh, yeah, joint Golden Boot winners Salah and Mane, and a reporter corrected him. He said, Aubameyang too? He's like, great. So all 3 of my players won Golden Boots. Guy, you gotta love him. He's the most lovable guy in the Premier League. And then Alisson Becker winning the Golden Glove, 21 shutouts in 38 games for Alisson.
That's awesome.
What a great record. I think it should be the Golden Glove / Golden Header award, because Virgil van Dijk was a rock in the back for Liverpool too. But of course, he was named PFA Player of the Year. Other accolade was Young Player of the Year went to Raheem Sterling of Manchester City.
Does he count as a young player?
According to the FA, he does.
How
I don't think
old
so.
is he again?
23.
He's been a pro for like 6 years.
Yeah, he's got 4 kids.
I think
so.
it's got to be like under. you 21 for me is young. I don't know about
me too.
That, man.
Yeah, the 22 under 22. Alex Muil still in contention for the 22 under 22. If y'all don't get that joke, follow more MLS. But guys, we're not talking about MLS right now. We're talking about Premier League. So, guys, were you surprised at the way the title race ended today? Are you happy, sad? What do you think this means going forward? Just give me your reactions.
I think today's results went exactly how they were supposed to.
Correct.
The moment that won the title for City was Company's winner against Leicester last week. And I think that's what clinched it for him. This was the tightest race ever, I think. And also City finished with second most points ever in a season.
And Liverpool got
and then
third,
and Liverpool was the highest points ever by a runner-up. I think. So, yeah, this was a great...
Always the bridesmaid.
a great Premier League title race, and I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. This was incredible to watch, and but I think City always had it in the bag going into the final day.
Yeah, I think it would have been hard for Brighton to get a result. I mean, obviously they go 1-0 up, but the City's deserved it. I know Mason and I were talking a little bit. It's a little bit unfair that Liverpool with 97 points, that's the third highest point total of all time in the Premier League. And it just so happens that one of the top two is the same year and beats him out. So to have the third most points ever in the Premier League era and to not win the title is insane. But Mason and I talked about prior to the podcast, they had one loss. And who was the loss to?
City.
It's Manchester City. So it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I mean, City really was the better team. I think when you look at throughout the entire season, I think they were more consistent.
A couple things stood out to me. So, number one, really weird thing happened at Anfield today, but it was kind of cool. So, Sadio Mane had just scored. The celebrations had ended for that. And about a couple minutes after he scored, Anfield just erupted in celebration. And then the announcers were talking about it. They're like, well, there's no Brighton goal. There's nothing even close to a Brighton goal. I don't know why the Liverpool fans are celebrating like this. And then not even a minute later, Glenn Murray scores for Brighton, and then just when you thought that Anfield couldn't get any louder, it raises the decibel meter and probably shook the whole of Merseyside. But ended up just being a guy in the cop, just randomly trying to get everybody amped up in the stadium. So awesome. Shout out to Liverpool, probably the best and most exuberant fans in the Premier League. And then the other thing, that's exactly the other thing I want to touch on is, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, I have never seen a team in the Premier League that lost the league on the last day have their fans be so exuberant. There wasn't a somber atmosphere after the game at Anfield. The fans were ecstatic. They were cheering their team on. I mean, you saw Mo Salah's daughter come out again at the end of the season and score a goal at the Cop end. Everyone was cheering for her. Everyone just seemed to be happy. I mean, granted, the dual golden boots and the Golden Glove award probably helped that a little bit as well as
golden boots.
Yeah, well, dual for Liverpool.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
And then probably the Champions League final in a couple weeks here sweetened the pot a little bit for them, but they looked happier than any fan base I've seen about coming in second, and that is a testament to how much work this group has put in and what Klopp has done to shape this club, in my belief.
Well, first off, it's a cultural thing. So, like, you look at City and they win the title and it's like, oh, the City won the title. It's great.
Plastics.
Like, yeah, I memean, there's no culture, really. It's like, oh, that's great. Come on, you.
Although it was really, really cool to see them sing Wonderwall with I think his name's Niall Gallagher, the lead singer of Oasis. He went in the locker room, apparently huge Man City fan, and they all sang Wonderwall together, and I'm happy for Vincent Kompany, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like City, and you can't fault them. Look, it's a money game, and if you have people that want to spend the money and they're good, then that's fine. But, like, there's just such a deep, entrenched culture with Liverpool and an entrenched culture of failing domestically. Abroad, they've done better. No, and like, seriously, though.
Yeah.
They've failed domestically. And for them to get so close, but also still with so much hope on the horizon of the Champions League final, where they're there, I would say they're the favorite to win it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree.
Like when they have that success, I think that changes a lot. But the fans are very diehard and very supporting. And I mean, you couldn't be happier. You have Klopp, you have unbelievable players. So
yeah. And now correction on the lead singer's name, Liam Gallagher. I called him Niall. I don't know what I was thinking there, but yeah, Liam Gallagher in that locker room with Manchester City. The other thing, I was texting a buddy of mine who's a huge City fan today, And he was asking, he's like, we won the trophy, but it's not the one we wanted. They really, really wanted the Champions League. And I would argue that Liverpool really, really wanted the league title. So really, really interesting. There's an old song, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. So I think that both clubs are going to hopefully get some silverware this year. And City has a chance at the domestic treble in England, which has never been done before by an English club. So
Not a treble.
It's a domestic treble.
Yeah, I know, but
The League Cup, the FA Cup, and
just because they make a
the
third
league title.
trophy for the Cowbro Cup to make money, it doesn't mean like that's just stupid.
Yeah,
to me.
but again, it's something to be said that's never been done before. in
Yeah,
England.
yeah,
It's
fair
still 3 trophies. How many trophies is Arsenal going to win
Easy.
this year?
The one we're going to win the Europa League final, Chris.
Oh man, why you gotta dagger Chris like that? He's just sitting there unsuspecting.
And I agree with you. This is the most interesting thing. And Trav, maybe you can shed some light on it. But I legitimately think if you went to both clubs and said, right now you can switch. Liverpool, you win the Premier League. City, you get to play in the Champions League final. I think they would take that.
I think so too. If I'm being honest, as a Liverpool fan, because we haven't won a league in the modern Premier League era. We won a Champions League in 2005. We made the final last year. So I think both fan bases were craving the other trophy because I was asked the question at the beginning of the year, would you rather win a Champions League title or a league title? And I said, hands down, a league title. But I'm not going to sit here and be privileged and complain about the chance to win a Champions League because that's an incredible honor, and Liverpool have performed so well in Europe.
I can't speak as a fan of either of these clubs, but
The undecided.
The casual.
I think that obviously Champions League holds greater weight than the league, but for something that has been evading Liverpool in the league and City with the Champions League, I think it's a hard question, but I think they would gladly switch and take each other's spots. But yeah, that's definitely a tough question because the Champions League, it holds more prestige, but Liverpool haven't won a league title in a very long time.
Yeah, in the Premier League era, they have not won a title.
And I'm actually going to disagree with you. I think it's harder to win a Premier League than a Champions League because the
you have
Champions
to be
League
more consistent.
Yeah, it's a tournament format. So if
Right.
you get hot
There's
at the right
more
time,
games.
it's like playoffs in MLS. Like if you get hot at the right time, doesn't matter how you did in the group stage because Liverpool barely made it out of the group, and now they're going to play in the final. And it's a much bigger accolade to me if you can, for 38 games, prove that you are the best team in a league. And it's not just, you got lucky in one win or something. I'm not saying Liverpool have gotten lucky in their wins or anything like that. I think they've deserved where they are, but I think that's why they want the league title, to prove that they can do it 38 games throughout a season and come out on top.
Yeah. Also, guys, 6 ever clubs to win the Premier League title since the Premier League era, since they changed it to the Premier League era. Who are the 6? Do you know?
I do.
Yeah.
Oh,
You want to go now?
Yeah, go ahead, name them.
Yeah, toss it to me since I don't have a team.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
go.
name them.
That would be Manchester City,
correct.
Manchester United,
Yep.
Chelsea,
Correct.
Arsenal,
Yep.
Blackburn,
Yes. And you know it.
Famously coached by Coach
Chelsea.
Ted Lasso.
Tottenham. Yeah.
No, it's not Tottenham.
No.
You said Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
Lasso did
before
coach
Tottenham.
the manager's team in the spoof.
Oh, Leicester, obviously.
Come on, you
Jamie
Leicester.
Vardy's having a party.
Yeah, those are the 6 teams
Yeah.
that have won it in the Premier League era.
Blackburn, and Leicester, I guess now the only ones with just one title.
Yeah, Gary
Correct.
Lineker
Correct.
with the Rovers. Yeah, but guys, great Premier League action. It comes to a close. For some of us,
How did I miss Leicester?
I think everybody at this table, their team at least has one more game. One more game of the year, not in the Premier League, but Chelsea and Arsenal on May 29th, taking on each other in the
At
Europa League final.
6 a.m. local time. Thanks for playing in Azerbaijan.
Which shout out to Travis for calling us out. We said Luxembourg
Idiots.
last week. Is Chris? He said Luxembourg, but
Do you
it's
produce the show,
Yeah,
Chris,
yeah,
or
that's-
do you just kind of show up and
Azerbaijan.
That's my bad. I zoned out during that segment last show.
Okay.
you're supposed to be the fact checker, man?
He had a long drive.
fault.
You have the laptop.
I do have the laptop, but I also do drive 45 minutes.
It's true.
Yeah, fair
He's
point.
dedicated.
He's dedicated.
But yeah, 6 a.m. And then, of course, 2 p.m. Central Time. It's the Champions League final on June 1st. Like I alluded to last week, girlfriend and her dad are huge Tottenham fans. I'm a diehard Liverpool fan. Hopefully, I don't ruin any future chances with his daughter by gloating too much or crying too hard if Liverpool lose. But we'll see what happens, guys. I'll keep you updated on that. Anyway, that's a pretty good place to wrap up the Premier League, guys. We're jumping now over to a little bit south. We're going to Spain. We're going to talk about La Liga. Of course, one game left in the
Snore.
league. for each team.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah, Barcelona is up by 11 points with a game left. They've already clinched the league title. No surprises here. The top three in the league are Barca, Atleti, and Real Madrid. It's just depending on the order. The biggest thing here for me is that Real Madrid is in third place, and they've had kind of a shocking season.
Yeah, but look,
66 points. That's it.
So what's the fourth place's points?
58.
Great. So they're going to get Champions League, so it doesn't essentially matter. I mean, look, they didn't win the title. Every year it's Barcelona, Real Madrid, and every fifth year it's maybe Atleti. But look, you lose a player like Ronaldo who scores like a gazillion Champions League goals and a gazillion goals in the league, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll just buy somebody else. No, it doesn't work like that. So I think the most important thing for them is that they survived the turmoil. They now have Zidane back.
Yeah.
They're going to spend money. They're going to get people back in. They do have a Champions League spot, and they're going to move forward. So I think it's a rebuilding year, but it's a rebuilding year that they survived, which is good for a Galactico club. And then, I think next year we can expect them to spend money, players in and out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that Barcelona's kind of facing the same problem that Real Madrid is right now. I mean, you saw them against Liverpool. They got a lot of stars, a lot of aging stars, though. So Suarez is in his 30s. Busquets is in his 30s. Rakitic is in his 30s. Messi is in his 30s.
Busquets could be in his 20s. It wouldn't matter. He's stupid. He can't run. He's dumb. I hate that guy.
Gerard Piqué's in his 30s. Jordi Alba is about to reach his 30s, if not already there. So they've got a pretty aging team right now, and they're going to have to inject some youth and some pace into that. And so be on the lookout for both teams being active in the transfer market this summer, with trying to inject some pace and some youth into that squad, because I think that's what's been working for them.
So, Trav, if you're Barcelona, what is the first thing you work on in training? I'm gonna tell you it's what your specialty.
Set pieces.
Set pieces. Because apparently they don't know that when you defend a corner, you're supposed to be goal side. I'll break it down for youth soccer for you guys. You have to get closer to our goal than the other player.
Oh, and watching the ball.
Yeah, that one too.
Yeah.
You gotta go closer to the ball.
I think effort's the biggest issue for me.
The fact that you're
that
talking
team.
about one of the greatest clubs to ever play the game, and effort is a problem, is just absolutely
they look
stunning.
like in the Champions League they didn't want to play for Valverde.
I agree with you. So is he going?
And they felt scared. I think so. And I think, guys, the rumors I've been hearing are Mauricio Pochettino might be taking that job.
Barcelona?
He's proved it with Tottenham.
Are they going to play a different style?
I would hope so. I hope
really
that he
hope so.
brings in some of the guys. Maybe a Christian Eriksen would be a good signing, I think, for that Barca team. Maybe Harry Kane, if I don't know.
Get off
I can
it.
dream.
There's
can
no
I?
way. There's no way either of those guys would be good at Barcelona.
I think they would.
Harry Kane at Barcelona?
Hey, back me up on this, man. Come on.
I think he'd look better in the white of Real Madrid.
I'm just ready for that team to fall apart.
Oh, there it is.
Fair enough.
There it is. Travis Ade hates Barcelona. He doesn't hate many things in this world, but Barcelona is one of them, guys.
Correct.
Yeah, so that La Liga title's done and dusted. Just now waiting to see what the fallout is of the poor performances in Europe from both Madrids and Barcelona. I don't think we'll see a sacking of either Zidane or Simeone. I do think Valverde's in the hot seat, and it'll be interesting to see what players they get brought in over the summer. Guys, that's a pretty good place to wrap up La Liga. One more title race I want to talk about that pretty interesting this week, guys.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about Germany. We're going to the Bundesliga. So Bayern Munich tied RB Leipzig this week, which means they dropped 2 points that they could have gotten if they got a win. Which,
correct.
Shout out to Borussia Dortmund Twitter for putting RB Leipzig up there and making a GIF out. Or I think it was Leipzig Twitter. I don't remember, one of the two. And then Dortmund got the win today as well. So guys,
good Lord, barely. Oh man, Travis, can you play in goal for Dortmund, because they don't have a goalkeeper that's any good?
Honestly, call me up.
A 3-2 win, and Fortuna got the red card. So
Berkey did not even make the 18.
Not in the 18.
Yeah.
Well, whoever the new guy is, he gave up a absolute shocker, and he fouled the forward for the penalty.
I miss Roman Weidenfeller.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. Also, a heartfelt goodbye to Christian Pulisic. Of course, it was Dortmund's last home game of the
Scored
season.
though.
Yeah.
Guys, it warms my heart. I think it was Will Parchman on Twitter who was talking about it and said, like, never have we seen a 20-year-old American player receive such a big standing ovation from 80,000 fans at a club.
Yeah.
He's been there for 5 years now.
Yeah, the guy's a legend. I think we've never seen anything like this from an American player. So keep your eyes on that. So, guys, down to it, the nitty gritty. So Bayern hosts 6th place Eintracht Frankfurt, who are coming off a loss in the Europa League, and they're looking to rise up the table. I mean, they're 1 point behind Gladbach and Bayern, who are 4th and 5th place, and they're looking to get back into that Europa League.
A massive
so it's
game.
a big game, in Munich. So it feels a little bit like a trap game for Bayern for me. And then Dortmund playing away at 4th place Mönchengladbach, who are
Also
no slouches either. Also looking for a Europa League spot. Nobody's going to catch Leipzig in 3rd. They've already secured a Champions League place for next season.
Come on, you Leipzig.
Come on.
Come on, you Leipzig.
That whole Red Bull organization. Jesse Marsch also leaving Red Bull at the end of the year and going to be the head coach of Salzburg, which is awesome. Good news for an American coach coaching in Europe. But guys, this is all to play for. I think that Dortmund have a chance to win here. I mean, all they need, Bayern Munich draw. Dortmund has a loss on goal differential. They're actually almost 20 goals behind on Bayern Munich, so they need Munich to lose feasibly to make this gap up. So if Munich loses and Dortmund wins on the last day of the season, Dortmund are champions. But guys, I really think it's going to be another Bayern Munich title.
It was crucial because actually Bayern scored today to go up 1-0.
I was going to bring this up.
I'll let you talk about it then. I'll leave
No.
No, basically VAR, and I'll let you get more in depth in it, but VAR disallowed a goal. Trav will talk about it in a second. But this is the thing for me. I think the Frankfurt game is a trap game. And I do think that
Eintracht Frankfurt.
Oh, stop it. I think Frankfurt will go, and I think they'll beat Bayern Munich. But here's my thing. Dortmund have been shocking. I think Dortmund and Bayern lose last weekend.
I can't help but agree with you. I think that either Dortmund might get a draw and Bayern lose or something, but I don't see Bayern Munich losing this. So, A-Day, please walk us through what happened with this goal that could have been or should have been today.
Leading up to the goal, the ball gets played in. It's a shot, actually. It gets deflected off of one of his own guys, pops out to the right side of the box. It gets dumped in. Leipzig defender kind of heads it straight up in the air, straight to Lewandowski, and he smashes it home from about the penalty spot. So this went to VAR review, and it was super marginal. I don't think it's definitive at all.
It was millimeters, man.
Yeah, there's no way that you can tell from that angle. Aside from this VAR decision, Bayern would be champions today.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going back to it again, and you'll hear it on the away leg here soon. VAR playing a major part in matches once again.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think we talk about it and obviously listen into the away leg because we get some good sound bites there. But clear and obvious, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's so ambiguous.
I don't know, man. I look at that and like Lewandowski was kind of in an offside position, maybe yes or no, and then he served it in and it pinged around and it got put home. But like it was minimal at best.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I disagree with the call, but at the end of the day, look, Bayern Munich need a point to win the league at home. If Bayern Munich can't get a point to win the league at home, they don't deserve to win.
Yeah, they don't deserve the title if they can't do that.
Yeah, and also, what are they on? Like, I think 75 points. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, they're on 75.
It's crazy to me how there are some league title races. Like, you look at England and it's 98, 97 points. And what I would consider a slightly lesser league in Germany. And when you look at top to bottom, how like there are just teams that not getting that many points. So I think it's been a train wreck of a year for Bayern Munich and Dortmund.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So it'll be tight going down to the final day.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, a lot of stuff here to be looking out for in regards to what's going to be happening in the title race here. A lot of great title race storylines going forward. But guys, that's a wrap on our title races. If you have any comments or questions, please, guys, don't be afraid to hit us up on social media. We love to interact. Our Twitter is at @B_B_radio. Instagram is box_radio. Facebook, of course, is box radio, and our email is 90min@boxboxradio.com. Let's move on from title races. Let's get a little bit patriotic here. I'm loving what's going on here with our national teams, both on the men's and women's sides. Of course, we have the Gold Cup coming up this summer, but hasn't really been announced yet. The rosters, we can speculate who we think is going to be called up for those teams, but we really don't know yet. Guys, but we do have a couple of rosters that have been released. for both the women's national team for the World Cup and the U20 national team for the World Cup this year in Poland. So, guys, this U20 roster dropped on Twitter a couple days ago in ussoccer.com. So I'm going to go ahead and read you the final 23-man roster that was released. So goalkeepers, we got CJ Dos Santos, David Ochoa, and Brady Scott. Defenders, Serginho Dest, of course, with PSV. Been getting some minutes there. Chris Gloucester, Abubakar Keita, Mark McKenzie with the Union, Matthew Real also with the Union, and then Chris Richards, former FC Dallas guy, now with Bayern Munich, looking to get a big jump there. Continuing the Dallas train, Edwin Cerrillo, one of the midfielders. Then we got Chris Durkin from DC, Richie Ledesma, who came up through the academy of RSL, now playing with PSV as well. Alex Mendez, same thing. Grew up in the Galaxy Academy and now is overseas. Paxton Pomacall, another Dallas kid. Brandon Cervenia, another Dallas kid. And then up top, Ayo Akinola, who's had a breakout year this year with Toronto FC. Conrad de la Fuente, Ulises Yanez, another Galaxy product who moved overseas as well. Justin Rennicks from New England Revolution. Sebastian Soto. And of course, the biggest name probably on this roster, Tim Weah, which for me, I'm excited to see his name on this roster, and apparently so is he. All reports are saying that he's really, really happy to be on the U20 World Cup team. I think it's a great place for him to develop. I think if you look at the teams like France, when they had Pogba on the team, it was good for him to develop. Even though he was quality enough to be a role player on that France full national team, it really builds your confidence to be the guy that everyone's looking to, and hopefully he gets to start up top for this U.S. national team.
I don't see why he wouldn't, but like this is the thing for me, and I mean, the Gold Cup is really important, don't get me wrong, but the Gold Cup, for me, in significance to younger players, the U20 World Cup is far more important because the U20 World Cup, if the U20s win the World Cup for the United States, which, if you play your genuine U20 roster, your best of the best, I think is a possibility. I mean, you've looked in the past, you know, when you had Zach Steffen in goal, they made the semifinal, and, you know, there's definitely a possibility. But the U20, winning the U20 World Cup would do so much to the game. So for me, I like the roster. I like all the homegrown kids from MLS. I like Paxton Pomacall. Tim Weah is a big one. I would have liked to see maybe like a Josh Sargent as well. Maybe is Carter Vickers, is he
Too old.
Too old? Okay.
Well, Josh Sargent's been injured all season.
Okay,
that's why. And if he comes back in time, because the Gold Cup starts a little bit later.
Right.
So I think if he comes back in time, they'll have him in the camp for the Gold Cup.
Right.
Maybe not on the final roster, but they'll bring him in. Which another guy that I think was a huge snub for me, and I think Ade and I were talking about this a little bit, is Julian Araujo, the 17-year-old right back from LA Galaxy, who's been lighting it up in MLS and, importantly, is a dual national with Mexico. So he was snubbed from this roster, which I think in the long run, if you're the U.S., even if he doesn't play a single minute, which Serginho Dest is a great right back in the pool right now, but have Araujo there as a backup, even if he doesn't play, and you have to drop a guy like Brandon Cervenia.
Because you bring him into the national team and you bring him into the conversation.
Him in and have him at least be there and know that you want him in the side. Because, guys, I think this is a death sentence for the United States because Mexico hasn't announced their U20 roster yet. And so maybe Araujo, or maybe it's a sign that Araujo maybe got called up and told the coaching staff, you know what? No, I want to play for Mexico. So we'll see what happens with that.
That could be also. One thing of note on this roster, there are 0 college players on this roster.
First time ever, yeah.
For the first time.
Good.
Frankie Amaya from UCLA was on a provisional roster, but didn't make the final cut. Also, Tyler Adams is still eligible for the under-20s, and he was left off, obviously, for the Gold Cup, I assume. And also, one other thing that I was reading about is that Jesus Ferrer was also probably a lock for this roster, but he's dealing with some issues with citizenship. So, unfortunately for him, this would be his last cycle to be eligible, I believe, for the U20s. So
yeah, for the World Cup for sure. I mean, there's definitely Olympics and stuff like that he can be called in for. Another guy
we have to qualify first.
Oh man!
Wow.
Shout out to Chris Seitz, DJ Countess, former FC Dallas goalkeepers that did not qualify for the Olympics.
Sean Johnson.
Oh,
Sean Johnson.
But guys, another thing interesting. So the U17 are playing in the World Cup this year as well. And a guy that's been lighting it up for the U17s is El Train. Ricardo Pepi for FC Dallas. He's a guy to keep a watch on for the future of the youth national teams. This guy's scoring at alarming rates for North Texas SC. I mean, he had a hat trick in his debut for them, and North Texas SC is 5 for 5. They've got a perfect season going on, and he's a guy that really, really excites me for the future of U.S. soccer, and I'm glad we're getting him in the picture now.
Definitely, yeah. I'm excited to see what the U17s do this summer as well, and I think just like the U20s, the under-17s have a cream of the crop talent.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and like we talked about a couple episodes ago, you look at the Seattle Sounders, they're the first American team to win Generation Adidas Cup in terms of a DA program.
Yeah.
So I think you have a lot of young talent, and it's getting better and better. It's a great sign that there are no college players in the U20 lineup because as we kind of look at the shifting model of American soccer, it becomes more homegrown players as opposed to college, and then you come play. So I'm excited for the future, but I totally agree with you, Trav. I mean, I would give Tyler Adams a run in the side, and Tyler Adams would do unbelievable. It'd be great for his confidence, but also great for soccer as a whole.
Yeah. I disagree with that, though, guys.
Really?
I think he is probably one of the best holding midfielders in Germany right now.
I agree.
So why would you play him beneath his level?
Because you can go win the U20 World Cup, which is more important than the Gold Cup.
But is that better for his development playing against kids that he's going to boss or playing against full vetted national team
for one
players?
tournament? I don't think it matters. I think he needs to go in and help the country,
especially
do something that's better for the soccer federation.
Greg Berhalter wants to start establishing him as a leader within that first team U.S. team. And so why not give him more opportunity to play with the guys that he's going to be playing with in a World Cup or in qualifying? Like Tim Weah is at the point to where he's borderline 18 for the U.S. team. I don't think right now with his form and his age and his experience, I don't think if he makes the 18, he's the last man in the 18 for a game day roster for the U.S. first team. Tyler Adams, his name's written in pen in the starting 11.
I mean, I agree with you, but like I said, I think winning the U20 World Cup would do so much for the country in terms of the youth that you have to play your best U20 no matter what the circumstances is.
I think this is also a telling sign of Berhalter wanting to win his first shot at a trophy
I agree.
in his tenure. So even though this isn't, you look at the Gold Cups, they're every 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
So this is not the important Gold Cup. This is not the one that's going to get you to qualify for the Confederations Cup.
Yeah.
So the fact that he wants to win this one so bad, I think that's a sign that he definitely wants to win a trophy at his first shot. And I don't blame him for that. But I think, he definitely wants to put his best squad out there, and that includes Tyler Adams.
Yeah, and I think that this is the first time that this is actually the first time we'll see a Berhalter team not playing in a friendly match. And so he wants to see how his guys are acting in a tournament setting when there's high pressure, when they're not just out there trying to win a job for the U.S., but actually trying to win silverware and hardware. And I think Tyler Adams is good enough of a player that if you take him off the first team, it makes our first team worse. I think if you take Tim Weah off the first team and put him with the U20s, it does not. And I'd put Josh Sargent in the Tim Weah boat as well. He's just been injured.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, I think, like you said, it's not the Confederations Cup, Gold Cup. So I think the U20 World Cup is more important. But I agree with what you're saying in terms of Tyler Adams' quality.
Yeah, I see both sides of it still. But yeah, so it's just tough for Berhalter in his first tournament, and also the U20s wanting to win. So
yeah, I think we can all agree though that it's exciting times for the U.S. men's national team. I mean, I have nothing but optimism and hope going forward with both setups, because I think the youth setup is more importantly being fixed now. You're getting better coaches in there, and Tab Ramos is finally starting to see the fruits of his labor. You got Jason Christ with the 17s. It's been looking great. You got Greg Berhalter, who's more focused on creating a culture and creating a style of play than he is just bringing in the best older players from Europe to play like Klinsmann was. I think it's going to be a really good shot for the men's national team groups going forward. But guys, let's move on from the men and let's talk about probably the most important event for any of our national teams within the next 4 years. And that's got to be the Women's World Cup in France this summer. Of course, the U.S. always has a historically good women's team. Guys, the roster just dropped this past week, and so I'm going to run through that with you real quick. Travis Aday was talking to us before the show, and he said the roster's pretty much written in pen. Which I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I'll stand by that.
Yeah, this is a pretty much a no-brainer. I don't think there were any glaring omissions for me. So Adriana Franch in goal from the Thorns, Ashlyn Harris from the Pride, and the starter, of course, Alyssa Nair from the Chicago Red Stars. Defenders, Abby Dahlkomper, Tierna Davidson, Crystal Dunn, Allie Krieger, which I find it interesting that Crystal Dunn's listed as a defender because she's been playing there for the U.S., but I honestly think her best position's farther up the field, but it's pretty crowded, so we'll keep an eye on that during the tournament. Kelly O'Hara, Becky Sauerbrunn, Emily Sonnet, and midfielders Morgan Bryan with the Red Stars, Julie Ertz, who's been phenomenal for the team for the past couple years, Lindsay Horan, Rose Lavelle, Allie Long, and Samantha Sammy Mewis. Up front, Tobin Heath, a veteran, 3 World Cups. Carly Lloyd making her 4th World Cup appearance for
probably her final World Cup.
Yeah, probably her final. Looking to be a spark off the bench. Jessica McDonald, Alex Morgan in her 3rd World Cup, Kristen Press, Mallory Pugh, and of course another veteran, Megan Rapinoe. Guys, this is not any surprises here in the roster. I think this is the women's team that Jill Ellis has pretty much been relying on. Give or take a couple of the first-year World Cup ladies coming in. They had a game this afternoon against South Africa, who is ranked 49th in the world, and they won 3-0, which, of course, are the women's national team. We expect them to win 3-0, but guys, a little bit more of a shaky result than we're used to. Not very clean passes, a little bit shaky in the back, a little bit lackluster at times is what they've been described as. So after seeing this result today, does it make you worried a little bit more about the World Cup? What are your predictions for how the women are going to finish? Like, before we jump in full throttle preview on this Women's World Cup, this was I believe their last tune-up before the tournament. What are y'all thinking?
I think everyone needs to calm down a little bit in terms of...
Coming from a fired up guy over here.
Yeah, you're right. In terms of what that means for, oh no, we only beat them 3-0. Look, at the end of the day, sometimes you're going to play bad teams. Sometimes you're going to have a bad result against a bad team. And 3-0 is a great result, but sometimes you're not going to score 85 goals. But look, they scored 3 goals. They didn't concede. At the end of the day, no matter how sloppy you look, you score 3 goals, you don't concede. I think this is one of the first times in a long time where they can look at it and say, you know, we have teams in the world like France and England that have spent time and money and invested in the women's game and that are looking very good and that could challenge the U.S. So I think people are looking for every little thing to be scared of. I think the reality of the situation is that there's the culture there. There's a lot of veterans and a lot of young kids. And I think if the U.S. can bridge that gap and bring the experience of Carly Lloyd and Alex Morgan and kind of bridge the gap with some of the younger players and bring them up to speed, they have the experience, they have the coaching staff. There's no reason why the U.S. shouldn't be at least in the final and maybe win the World Cup again.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Part of why maybe this match didn't go as the fans had hoped, Julie Ertz, who's been the regular center midfielder, she was dropped to center back at halftime. And also, Crystal Dunn was moved around a bunch today. She went from starting at left back and she went to right back and then eventually moved up into the midfield. So Jill Ellis was definitely tinkering around with the squad to try and maybe build some depth within her squad.
Yeah, and it's the perfect game to do that.
Yeah, I think that people are maybe like you said, jumping to conclusions a bit too early. They are number 1 in the nation. In the world, excuse me.
I'd hope they're number 1 in the nation. Yeah. Number 5 ranked in the nation, pretty good.
And they're defending champs. So I think once they get into the tournament, they're gonna get hot and they're gonna keep improving as the games go on. And even if they lose one group game, it's not the end of the world. Spain lost their first group game in 2010 and won the whole tournament. So
lost to Switzerland 1-0, I think.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, guys, I think, again, this result today, so Rapinoe, of course, didn't start. They were kind of tinkering around. Like you said, Jill Ellis was moving players around, but it doesn't make me less optimistic for the World Cup because I was not very optimistic to begin with.
Really?
I've said it on the show before. I think the U.S. women's national team is a place now where they have aging stars and on the come up young players, but they don't really have a lot of those bridge the gap people. They don't really have a lot of the bridge the gap players that are, you know, in their prime, ready to take the young kids under their shoulder, and then maybe next World Cup the young kids are ready to go. But Alex Morgan, 30, Rapinoe, 34, Carly Lloyd, 35. You're having an aging team. Julie Ertz is over 30 now, too, and those are kind of your big stars on the team. I think that they're just not going to have enough firepower to get it done. I think they'll make the final, at worst the semifinal, but I really, really, really do think this England or France team will win the World Cup this year. I don't think that's a knock on the U.S. team. I mean, they've done so well. I just think with it being in France, and them having the men win the World Cup this year and all the hype around it and the expectation on the French women's team, that they're my pick. They're my favorites.
Yeah, and also I think you see a huge movement in the women's game from the European side. Obviously, the U.S. we've invested more money and time into the women's game, but it's really caught fire this year. You look at in Spain, and they're getting 30,000 people. In Italy, they're selling out the San Siro for the Juventus women's team, and
which, by the way, the Juventus men and the Juventus women both won the Serie A in England, or in Italy. So
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, not in England. Sorry.
So I think that the field is leveling. It is the hardest thing in the sport of soccer. The hardest thing to do is win a World Cup 2 times in a row.
Yeah,
because people think that, oh, well, we won the World Cup last time, let's keep the same squad. You can't. It's a 4-year gap. You have to freshen the squad because there are people that kind of go in and out of that mold. So did the U.S. do a good enough job bringing in the young kids? I don't know. We'll see. I think it's a good point that France is hosting as well.
Yeah.
Not only is it a 4-year gap, it's more like a 6 or 7 year gap, because you start with qualifying way before the previous tournament that they did win. Then you win that tournament. Then there's the gap in between before the next tournament. So yeah, with like Mason was talking about with the aging players, yeah, that might be a little bit of cause for concern. One positive that I noticed from this roster, and this is more of a sign of NWSL, is this is an all domestic roster.
Yeah, it's true.
So we have 0 players that are playing in Europe that are on this roster. We've seen a few of them have come back stateside. So I think that is a good sign for NWSL, as they've been struggling as of late to get fans in the stadiums and to gain owners and teams.
Yeah, and I think them winning the World Cup, like if this U.S. team can win the World Cup, that would do it'd be huge. It'd be incredible. It'd be incredible for the league, and I think it would just take off even more.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, shout out. I mean, I'm definitely bucket list game for sure is to go to Providence Park and watch a Portland Thorns game. I mean, my girlfriend is a diehard Tobin Heath fan, so shout out to Hannah Bruce, and they actually kind of look alike too, which is why a little bit. Come on, you squint one eye and turn your head sideways. They look pretty similar. But guys, I mean, I'm pumped for the women's game in the United States. I think it deserves to grow as much, if not more, than MLS does. And I'm excited with an MLS team in Austin. How much longer will it be before we get a professional women's team in Austin?
So actually, one of the really cool things is like obviously the women's game is starting to trend that way, but there are a lot of women's teams in the local area, such as FC Dallas has a women's team, and also Lone Star actually has a women's team that plays at a semi-professional level. And it's a lot of the coaching staff and the young DA girls. So that's a good first step. It's similar to, I would say, like a PDL level.
Yeah.
And it's very high quality, and it was good to get, kind of the girls level, more popular and the growth of the game. So I think as Austin FC comes in more, you'll see a push from them to expand the women's side of the game as well.
Yeah, you also have FC Austin Elite here. It's like Central South Austin. They've been around for a while. They're attracting players from all around the country and throughout the globe. It's kind of a PDL level team. It's where college girls go to play when they're off from school, or maybe as a stepping stone to the NWSL or European League. So they've been pretty competitive here the past couple years. I know the store that I work at, the Soccer Corner, has been doing their uniforms for the past couple of years, and their manager is super, super nice, great guy. So really, really rooting for them to have a good season as well.
And you can see a lot of those games between, kind of those women's teams, usually at the Round Rock Multipurpose Complex over the summer. So as the summer, the league kind of kicks off, I think the entrance fee is really cheap or free. And if you're hanging around and want to see some unbelievable women's local soccer, please go check it out, man.
Absolutely go out and watch, guys. Really, really local. If you're in the Austin area, Round Rock is a stone throw away from downtown. I mean, if you're willing to get on 35 and fight the nightmare, come on up north and watch some great advancements in women's soccer here in Austin.
And as a side note, just for soccer in general, support local soccer, guys. If there is a team in your area, whether it's UPSL, the USL 2, 1, or the championship, obviously an MLS team, go support if you can. But all these small market teams, they definitely need fans in the stands. And it's only going to help grow the game.
Yeah, it'll grow the game and it'll grow the culture. That's the biggest thing, is the American soccer culture. And if we get people that want to be invested in a part of the local game at the grassroots level. And that's a lot of the U.S. soccer coaching education is grassroots stuff. But just get involved in any way you can and support the game. And we're trying to do our part with this show and kind of inspire some people to go watch some local soccer.
Yeah, guys. And of course, Austin FC coming into play in 2021, but you don't have to wait for 2 years to go watch professional soccer here in Austin. The Austin Bold are out at the Circuit of the Americas. And look, if you're an Austin FC fan, that does not prohibit you from supporting the Bold. You guys are not going to be in contention in the same league with one another. I get that there's been some bad blood here in the past couple of months, but guys, we're all at the show here. We're all team soccer in Austin. No matter who it is, what league, what organization, we want the game to grow here locally and domestically. So I encourage you guys, if you're a Bold fan, go out to an Austin FC game when they start coming into town. If you're an Austin FC fan, go out to a Bold game. Like let's create this dialogue of diversity and also togetherness, which is what makes Austin a great city to begin with, guys. We live in one of the greatest, most diverse melting pot cities in the entire nation. So I love that camaraderie and the feel and the genuine excitement we have around soccer in our great city. Yeah, guys, I'm looking forward to Austin FC coming into the league and very much looking forward to how the Bold continue to progress, and hopefully, like I said earlier, we get a women's team in the league here pretty soon. But guys, that's all the time we got for tonight. I want to thank my co-hosts real quick, Travis Carmichael and Travis Ade, as well as producer Chris. And y'all, again, we're talking about women's soccer here. We're 4 dudes talking about women's soccer. We want women that play in Austin, that have experience with the game, or even super fans of the women's game, to come on the show and talk with us. We've got a great question a couple months ago from Marissa Morin, who wanted us to talk more about women's soccer. We want more of that. Like we want you guys to come on and give your opinions. We're hoping within the next couple months here to have a former U.S. women's national team goalkeeper and goalkeeper of the Utah Royals, Abby Smith, on the show to talk to us. Again, also a UT alumni, so hook 'em horns there for the Austin folks. We're hoping to have her on the show here in a couple weeks to give us a preview of the World Cup and maybe talk about the ins and outs of the roster here. So be on the lookout for that, guys. And of course, another special thanks to Sincerely Yours for providing the music for our podcast now. Great band. Love to plug local Austin stuff. Again, if you have your creative works or geniuses that you want us to promote on the show, we'd love to do that for you guys. We'd love to plug you guys. We're all about making organizations and teams and businesses grow here in the area. Of course, guys, hit us up again on our social media pages. And then we're also live and flowing on all of your favorite streaming services. We got Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. Also, big announcement this week. We are finally on YouTube under Box to Box Radio. Producer Chris.
Come on, Producer Chris.
Producer Chris putting in the work on Mother's Day weekend. So, guys, I will end the show with this. We are, of course, recording on Mother's Day. So we want to give shout outs real quick to all the moms in our lives. Producer Chris doesn't have a mic, but his wife, Monica Hernandez, has been the rock of this show. She's been putting up with us in her house for the past couple weeks. And we couldn't be more thankful. He actually got to help us record on Mother's Day because she was able to spend time with the kids. So we love her so much for being the podcast mom that we've always needed. Travis and I, of course, would like to thank our mom, Heidi Carmichael. Not only did she raise us and put up with us, she also puts up with Darth. And that she deserves a accolade in its own. So thank you, Heidi Carmichael, our mom. We love you so much. And then Mr. Ade, who you got to shout out?
My mom, Cindy Ade. She's I know she'll be listening later, but
legend.
Yeah, just want to wish you a happy Mother's Day, Mom. Love you. Thanks for everything you've done. And yeah, growing up playing soccer, you drove me to all the games and everything. And I know these guys have the same story. So yeah, we're very, very appreciative for that.
Behind every great soccer player is a soccer mom that works 10 times as hard. So we want to thank all the moms out there that listen to our shows. Guys, if you're listening, I know this comes out on a Monday, the day after Mother's Day, but hug your mama. If she's not there with you, give her a call and thank her for everything she does. Guys, I've been Mason Carmichael, Travis Carmichael to my right, 8A to my left, PC across from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.